Hi, I'm Jill Chivers from Shop Your Wardrobe.
And I'm Imogen Lamport from Inside Out Style. We have been chatting with blog readers recently, and what is really fascinating for me is that how many people think that they should just be able to get dressed. They should just be able to get dressed and look stylish and just do it. And in fact, one woman said to me, she said, I'm 62 and I still don't know how to get dressed.
Yeah.
And I understand that because, and I see that particularly with intelligent women.
Yeah.
Because we're intelligent, we've had jobs that have been, we might have had powerful jobs, doing lots of stuff, in charge of things. We've done all sorts of things in our lives. We've achieved all sorts of things that are external to us.
Yeah.
So why isn't something we've been doing since we say 3 years old, which is putting clothes on our back, not easier?
Yeah.
And my whole response is always that this is a skill and it's a science and there is also an art to it.
Yeah.
And most of us are never taught.
Yeah.
Now, some of us have a natural inclination towards it.
Yeah.
No, Jill's one of these people who has a natural inclination versus I don't. It wasn't something that came as easily to me. It wasn't hard in that way once I learnt some rules, but I knew that there had to be an underlying base of rules and a science.
Yes.
Because I felt, as soon as I know the why, and then I can figure out the how, and then I can do it.
Yeah.
And then I think there's a lot of people who just think, oh, somehow it's in the air and it's in the ether, and the clothes should just fall on my back and I should look amazing. Or if I buy the latest fashion, that'll do it for me.
Or if you're not born with style, you can never get it. And that's another one that I hear. And in these beautiful readers that we were talking to, I had a conversation with a woman who had bought this coloured skirt and wasn't sure what to wear with it. And my comment was, the question was, is the skirt in your colour palette? The answer was yes. Then my response was, anything else that's in your colour palette. That's where the system does the work for you, and you can rely on that. The system is sound. The person who developed the system is trustworthy, and so rely on the system. And we've identified that there's multiple paths that women come to style. There is no single path. And some women come through, they want to know the why.
Yes.
That's really important, and the structural elements of it are really important. And that's a very valid way to approach style. Hasn't often been addressed, and I think that's one of the reasons why your blog is so popular, because those women have often had no place to go to get that kind of information.
They just get the magazine which says, wear this.
Exactly, and it doesn't satisfy curiosity, it doesn't satisfy if you have an inquiring mind, if you have a scientific bent, analytical way of thinking. That hasn't been catered to. And also those of us who are instinctive, which is kind of how I consider myself. I mean, I made tons of mistakes. I don't consider myself that I've been stylish since, day one. I've been interested in style, but I still had to learn a bunch of things. And I know when I first had my colours done, there wasn't a heap that was completely wrong, but there was some hot pink in there. I'll be happy to share. So all of us have a learning pathway, no matter where we come from. But there's always a learning component to becoming stylish, always.
And everybody can become stylish.
Absolutely.
And this is one of the things I think there is, yes, some people seem to be born with style, but sometimes too it's because maybe they had a mother. Right. They had a mother and maybe a grandmother who'd had a stylish, so they were brought up kind of being taught how to see the aesthetics. Yeah. And some people are more visual and some people less so. So there is that aesthetic element where, and I've certainly trained people who can put things together, but they have no idea what they're doing. Right. They just know that it looks good together, but they couldn't tell you why.
They can't deconstruct it and they can't teach it to anybody else.
Can't teach it, and they couldn't replicate it because with something completely different, because they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so this is where I think when you have that, and I love when people tell me how much more empowered they feel when they learn, I could put this with this, and these are the reasons, and this is why these shapes go together, and this is why these colours go together, and all those different elements. Yeah. And this is why, and because that personality element too, I think it's so important.
Absolutely.
That part of what we get when we're dressing to who we are, to our inner core, is that we will feel more confident. And so in many ways, the body language of confidence comes over, and that makes all of us look better and look more stylish.
There's nothing more attractive than a confident woman.
Yes.
That really is absolutely true.
Yeah. And this is why, you can carry off something that may not be perfectly technically, but technical perfection can also be incredibly bland.
Yeah.
And so this is where I think, we should be striving for technical perfection.
Yeah.
We should be striving for an authentic expression of self.
Yeah. Although, that technical piece can be a part,
Yes.
well, it certainly was a part of my own journey, and I think that's a sort of a necessary step. You don't want to drop anchor there.
No, but it's not just, it doesn't have to be technical perfection. Like, getting that bit of technical in there, I think, is one thing, and that's why I teach. That's why everything I write about is here are the reasons why things work.
Yeah.
Take from it what you will.
Well, you teach people to fish, you don't, serve them up the fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where and I think this is where this is why it can take a while. It can take time. We didn't learn to walk in a day. We didn't learn to, or even a week, most of us, to do it really well. I watched my kids, even when they were kind of toddling across the room, still slamming into a piece of furniture and falling over. So it took some time before they could run.
Yeah.
And then run and jump at the same time, and then hurdle. And now my daughter does amazing gymnastics, and she's just doing backflips and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
But I watch her work hard day after day at acquiring those skills. So why is it getting dressed any different? Why do we think, in a week I'll know how to do it, or I'll read this one thing and I'll know how to do it? And it's a skill. It needs practice. It needs development. It needs time. And that's okay, but what I love is when I get to see someone who'll say, I don't think I've moved far, but then when I found a photo from a year ago and I compare that to a photo today, I can see I actually have gone a long way.
Yeah, that's powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's where you go, I might still have further to go, but wow, I've come a long way. And I think that's part of the value of actually taking some photos of your outfits. Yeah. Because it gives you a little bit more objective analysis, but you can then look back and go, wow, really, I'm dressing so much better now.
Look how far I've come. And in a way, style is always a work in progress because we are.
Yes.
Because we are dynamic living creatures, and our style, whilst it might not take radical shifts when we get to a certain point where we're really comfortable with our style and it's really working for us, it should still have a sense of aliveness and dynamicness to it. So we're never done completely with it, and that should be a positive thing, I think.
And I think that's really important to remember, that it's never done. Yeah. That it's never, style recipe will change. You don't have to settle on something that you're settling on for life.
Yeah.
Because often people
I've settled on leopard print, I'm in big trouble if I get rid of leopard print.
But, one day you might just turn around and go, I'm kind of over the leopard, and florals are floating my boat these days. Okay,
if that happens, I've had a personality transplant, but I get what you're saying. The principle holds.
And it could be that, where you just go, or I want to bring, or I just start noticing that I bring in, it's a leopard with a floral.
Right.
And after a while, it just morphs into florals, and the leopards are gone. But it is that sort of thing that fashion always changes. So part of our image, it will change because fashion does change.
Yeah.
But it's also because we are not static beings, and we continue to change, and our roles change, and we very much dress for roles. And it's very interesting, I know my retired community find often really struggle
that transition,
particularly if they've come from a workforce and they got up and they were dressed and they were smart and they felt good in that, and then now going, well, I've got to wear these casual clothes and I feel a bit dowdy.
Is that gardening clothes? Is it cleaning out the garage clothes? What is that?
It's I can't even find a reason to wear something better. Like, I feel like I need to have a reason, but I haven't got one. And in many ways, I look at particularly many of the, say, older women of maybe born, say, 1950s, where you still dressed well. You still, my great aunt, she wore a twin set and a skirt, and she would never have gone to Slobsville.
Yeah, that was interesting. In the art of dress, they talk about the evolution of women's wardrobes, and they had sort of an average wardrobe, a typical wardrobe of a sort of a middle class woman in the 1950s, and she had 3 morning dresses, which was for making the beds and making breakfast and that kind of stuff. And then she had say 3 or 4 afternoon dresses, and they were called afternoon dresses for going out to do the marketing and the shopping and meeting other women and having lunch or playing bridge or whatever it was. And then she had something for the evening, which wasn't, taffeta, but it signalled this progression through her day. And I thought that was a really charming idea. And I thought, we couldn't take that idea on wholesale, but there's something really nice about that, I think. Yeah.
And I think, look, we all do have clothes we do our chores in.
Yeah.
clothes we go out and socialise in,
Yeah.
or go out in public. And one of the things I think it's important, and then somebody mentioned this to me, was that I need to have clothes. Like, I work from home,
Yeah.
but I still need to have clothes, because it's very easy when you work from home to get into this routine where you don't even want to open the door. You think, well, I'm not seeing anyone, so what's the point? No, I basically wear my pajamas all day. But it's when somebody comes to the door, or if I just want to nick down to the supermarket, do I have to get changed? So I think even that base level,
Out of your pajamas, yes.
yeah, but it's like I'm going, well, it's that have that base level of clothing where you go, I'd happily meet an ex-partner if I happen to bump into them, or my boss, or someone who I'd want. Like, it doesn't have to be,
Dressed up,
but it just has to still be in that realm.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's even just having an outfit where there's an accessory.
Yeah.
Or it's not being really sloppy. Or often one of those things when people particularly say with their goal, I'm in a very casual lifestyle and I live in a very casual environment. But it could be, instead of like the completely plain t-shirt, maybe it's a t-shirt with a pattern on it that they love. Yeah. So if it was Jill, it would be a leopard print t-shirt. Or maybe it's got a little detail about it. It's not completely just functional and plain.
Yeah.
And so it's looking for those elements. But every wardrobe will be built in time through patience, perseverance, and I think knowledge.
Yes.
And they are the things that make a big difference.
And that knowledge piece, I think, has two components to it. One is just learning stuff, which is where your blog comes in and why it's so powerful. The other part of that learning is as applied to me.
Yes.
That's the experimentation. What feels right for me. You can look at any example that you find stylish and say, there's elements of that will inspire me, but I have to find my own way. And that's where that authentic expression of self comes in, is forging that pathway for yourself. So getting that knowledge that gives you the confidence to experiment. Pay attention to those experiments and find your own style pathway that really works for you.
Yes, and so one of the things I actually recommend is go shopping without shopping.
Yeah.
Like, so if you're learning about your style, because most of us go shopping with it's the hunter-gatherer, I have to bring something home.
Yeah.
But just go, I'm going to go and I'm going to try on lots of stuff just to see how it works.
Yeah.
I have no intention of buying anything.
Yeah.
Actually doing that sort of shopping will actually give you a much better understanding more quickly than, I've got some things in my wardrobe, which is great, and you can shop your own wardrobe, but then it's if I want to try different shapes that I've never tried before, because most of us, what we keep doing is buying very similar replicas of what we already own, where we just go, I know that shape works, and that's the only thing I'll take into the change room.
Yeah.
Versus going, I'm going to pick up these things that I would never normally take and just experiment and find out. And maybe the reason, they are terrible on my body. And I can have a little analysis, but maybe you'll find something that you would never have otherwise tried that actually works well.
Yeah.
And this is this learning, growing, developing, trying something new that actually will help you kind of build your style muscle and become more stylish.
Well, a couple of the women I was talking to from your 7 Steps program last night were showing me some photographs. They had gone shopping together as an experiment, and they had photographs of one of the women holding up items of clothing, and it was really, really fascinating. It was a really interesting experience for them. They both learned a lot about, I think they had a third friend with them, also a 7 stepper, and it was exactly that. It was a learning experimentation in a really supportive environment with no intention of buying anything, but just to have a look-see at certain things. And what was great about it was the 2 other women who were part of that knew about the principles and were supportive of that whole idea of let's try some things. And so I think you do need to be careful if you do that kind of thing with others. You can just do it on your own. But if you want some feedback, somebody who understands where you're coming from can really add something exciting and interesting to that process.
And also having an understanding that this is not about buying.
Absolutely.
Because often what can happen, particularly when there's friends, is you should get that, you should get that.
Yes.
And that is often not right. Now, occasionally you might come across the most amazing thing ever. But, if everybody knows this is actually not about buying things.
Yes.
It's a safer space.
Yeah, absolutely. So however you do it, getting that knowledge, learning those principles and developing your own sense of style, going on your own style journey, that's going to bring such joy and richness to your life, I think.
And just remember that you didn't learn any skill in a week. You know, like everything you've learned has taken some time and practice. And actually getting dressed, the physical act of putting my arms into sleeves, that's not the bit that's practicing, but it's the mental muscle of putting things together, that's the thing that takes practice. So expect to do that, and that's fine. Like, you're not deficient somehow if you find it a little bit tricky.
Yeah.